Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, welcome to another episode of Chill with Chill. I apologize for the delay. Please don't host me. And also, Big Bob is not here, so I'm subbing in for Ox today. So
The super
don't
sub,
be
by the way.
yeah, super
By the way.
super sub. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. So please don't be too hard on me, chat. But I'm excited to be here, Chill. I've been wanting to get a chance to chop it up with you for the longest, so this seems like a good opportunity as ever to do it. So how you doing, my brother?
I want to start the conversation with yes or no, is Pluto a planet? Yes or no?
This is the
J
world's
Rob,
longest
it's
debate
a
right
yes
now.
or no question. Let's cut the nonsense. Is Pluto a planet, J Rob? Yes or no?
It's a space fart.
Okay, now I'm gonna take that as a no. Pluto is
It's-
you don't think Pluto. You don't think Pluto.
no, it's not a planet. Pluto is not a planet. It is a massive gas in the air. Or something
Ladies and
like
gentlemen, me and J Rob been going at this for months. Okay,
Yeah,
since
for sure.
since I first met J Rob. Pluto to J Rob is not a planet. I've been trying to convince him that it is. He
Yes.
is dying on that hill. Pluto is
I'm
not
dying on
a
that one.
planet. Pluto
Dying
is,
on that one.
he is dying on that hill. Pluto is not a planet, according to J Rob. And
Listen,
every day I see him, J Rob, is Pluto a planet? No.
Listen, my kids is gonna know that Pluto ain't a planet, man. This is going to stay with me forever. It'll be the world's longest debate. But let's get into NBA. I'm really happy to talk some basketball. I've been such a football figure on this channel for a minute now. I haven't got to, grease the wheels on NBA. So do you want to get into the crazy news, or you want to get into that list first?
J Rob, you the host, brother. I'm riding with you.
Okay.
This is
All
what
right.
happens.
I'm more of a guy. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off then.
It's like walking into a restaurant. You tell me where to sit down.
Right.
I don't just pick my seat. You the host.
All right, let's do it. I like to rip the Band-Aid right off. Obviously, the story came out by Shams reported that James Harden is currently missed a day at practice due to being back in Houston. The team is still looking to figure out the details on why he was in Houston before they decide a potential punishment for James Harden. So my question to you is, what do you make of this situation and this idea that James Harden is becoming a bit of a diva? Is that starting to really become the MO of him as a player, and how will this affect his legacy as well?
Well, first things first, J Rob. Divas actually do their jobs. I mean, they might be a bit of an issue, but when Beyonce get on the stage, she don't mess around. When Taylor Swift get on the stage, there's no misunderstanding about who the show is. So there's no misunderstandings about that. I mean, James Harden has been a disruption more than anything, and this started back when he first got in Philly, where him and Daryl Morey, who had a relationship in Houston for as long as they had the relationship that they had, he took a chance on him, and he was the one who traded for James Harden. Now, J-Rob, when you are involved with somebody in business for that long, eventually it becomes a personal relationship. When I say that, I mean Kobe Bryant was with the Lakers for as long as he was with the Lakers. It wasn't just business with Jerry West. It was family. It wasn't just business with Dr. Bust. It was family. So when you got a guy in Daryl Morey who invests in James Harden, trades for James Harden from Oklahoma City and sells them the logic, this is our guy. Right. This is the guy we need to be building our unit around. And he sells it to him. He tells him, I'm going to get you paid. All you have to do is do your job. That's part of business, J-Rob. You have to hold up your end of the bargain. J-Rob, you come out here and you look at the DBs in the National Football League, and the top DBs are, 2-3 interceptions and a bunch of contested passes. J-Rob, if you do your job, I'm going to get you paid like that.
I agree.
I'm going to get you paid like that. And if I've done that over the course of your career, there's no reason for you not to trust that I'm not going to do it again, regardless of where we are.
Right.
I'm going to do it again. So with James Harden now moving to Philadelphia, which is where he wanted to go. Why? Not just because Joel Embiid was there. He wanted to be there because Daryl Morey was there.
Exactly.
That's why he wanted to go there. So Daryl Morey is there and is telling him, yo, I'm going to get you paid. And there's no reason to think he's not. Why? Because in the past, he got him paid. Even when James Harden flamed out in the playoffs.
Right.
And he still got him paid. The problem that we having is the Philadelphia brass didn't see it that way. They didn't see it that way off the strength of what you were asking, not just what you were asking for, where we are. Where are we? Where are we, J-Rob? Well, I'll tell you where we are. We in the same spot that we was before we got you.
Right. Right.
You were supposed to be the difference in what we were doing. We brought James Harden in here because now he's got a full season with Joel Embiid, led the league in assists, 20 and 10 guy. Okay, we've seen all of that from him. In the past, we've seen that from him when he was in Houston. We saw all of that from him. We brought you in here because you're going to be the difference in getting us over the hump. J-Rob, if the Philadelphia 76ers ended up in the Eastern Conference Championship, Philadelphia would have extended them 4 years, $140 million.
Easily.
We in the same spot. So now what I have to do as a general manager who said I was going to get you paid, you still got to hold up your end of the bargain. So now when I go into management, because I'm a part of management, but when I go into the check writers, I got to sell you on this is why we should pay him this. And they're looking at me like, wait a minute. We still in the same space. We still in the same space we was before we got him. Why should we extend an aging, declining James Harden? Why should we extend him 4 more years at $160 million, at $150 million? Why should we do that? In fact, not why should we do that? We're not doing that. No. Now all of a sudden, Daryl Morey looks like the bad guy. You're a liar. Well, wait a minute. I had all intentions on getting you paid. That wasn't the case, J-Rob. It wasn't like he was gassing them going, yo, I'm going to get you. Well, if you look at my track
record. The plan was to re-up.
That was the plan. And I've done that for you in the past. That was the plan. But the problem was James Harden didn't hold up his end of the bargain. And because he didn't hold up his end of the bargain, it was a little bit more difficult. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to sever ties. Okay, you want to sever ties and you want to get traded. Now, remember, J-Rob, more than anything, this is a personal relationship between you and me because we've been together for so long, but this is business at the end of the day. Right. And if I'm moving you to where you quote unquote want to go, if I'm moving you there, this can't just be something for you. It's got to work for me too. That's what the business part of it is about. So when I move you to the Clippers, which is where you want to go, this deal has to make sense for everybody. This deal just can't make sense for you. It's not like I reneged on what I said I was going to do. My plan was to get you paid. Okay, you opt into this deal, and I'm going to move you to the Clippers. Well, I'm on the telephone with the Clippers, and the plan is to move you to the Clippers. Only problem is that they're not giving up what I'm willing to part with. They're not doing that. So now we have an issue because we're back to the business aspect of it. I've delivered on just about everything that I said I was going to do. This is business, and if you are going to, if I'm going to keep my job, I don't just work for James Harden. I'm not just in the James Harden business.
Right.
I work for the Philadelphia 76ers. So this deal has to work for the 76ers, not just James Harden. And if the Clippers aren't willing to give me what I think is fair, then I can't do this deal. Not because I don't want to hold up my end of the bargain for you, but no, this has to work both ways. Now here's the problem. Now here's the problem, J-Rob. The problem that we're having more than anything is this looks so bad on James Harden. Number one, he goes to Brooklyn. He's out of shape. He says that, I couldn't really run because my hamstring. Well, the reason why your hamstring was what it was because you was out of shape. That's why. Facts. That's exactly why your hamstring ended up being what it was because you was out of shape. Don't make it sound like I couldn't run because of my hamstring. Well, tell the rest of the story. The reason why you couldn't run is because you were out of shape. And you routinely show up to camp out of shape. And you play your way in shape during the season. But then when we get to the season and we get late into the season, into the playoffs, you start to break down. Why? Because you don't take care of your body. That's why you start to underperform. So now where we are, we have a track record of you doing this. It's a disaster in Brooklyn. Even though when him, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant were together, when they were in the lineup, they had a winning record, but they just couldn't stay healthy. So now you force your way out of Brooklyn to Philadelphia to get what you want, to get what you wanted. Mm-hmm. This doesn't work because remember, this is why they brought you in. They brought you in specifically to get over the hump. They didn't bring you in for you to be another 20 and 10 guy. We already did that. Right. We already know that you could do that. We brought you in because we got an elite player on our team, a league MVP. We need to get over the hump to see if we can win the NBA championship. Now, remember, J-Rob, winning the NBA championship isn't just being good. You need some things to go your way. Injuries, people playing a certain way. You do need some things to go your way. 100%.
I agree, 100%.
With that being said now, J-Rob, you bring him in here. Now he has that full season. They get the 3rd seed. Okay, J-Rob, here we are. We're back in effect. We're back at the top of the Eastern Conference. This is a 20-10 guy. We know what this looks like. We got to get over the hump. Only except we don't. Only except we don't.
Right.
So now what you want is you want to get paid like we did. That can't happen. But you're still going to get paid because last I checked, they asked him to opt into the deal. It's not like he doesn't have a contract. He has a contract, J-Rob. And if you can't honor that contract, what are we doing here? For $35 million, you have to honor this deal. Well, I did it in bad faith. No, actually you didn't, because it wasn't like Daryl Morey wasn't interested in moving off of you, because he was. The Clippers won't come off what he's asking for. And it's not like he's asking for something ridiculous.
Right.
There's debt on both sides here. It's not like it's just Daryl Morey. There's debt on both sides here. The problem that I'm having with James Harden is how this looks for his legacy. It's bad enough that you show up, or your lack of playoff success is what it is. But now you bouncing around from team to team and you're getting the same results. J-Rob, it's like a chick that keep breaking up with different dudes. After a while, you got to look in the mirror. Maybe I'm the problem.
I think that was the biggest thing. When is he going to look in the mirror a little bit?
Maybe that's the problem. I keep saying that it's this team, and then it's this team, and then it's this guy. Wait a minute. Am I the problem here? Maybe because it goes back, soon as all of this is over with, to you, the one person that we're talking about, which is you. So I think that when we look at his legacy, we talk about guys like Allen Iverson. We talk about great players, right? Who LeBron James, who honored his contract. And when it was time to go, he bounced. A guy like James Harden, who's continuously asking out in the middle of deals when he has not fulfilled what he promised.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about it.
It just looks bad. It looks really bad on him. It looks really bad on him.
Yeah, I really think the biggest issue with James Harden, this whole situation, is one, it does look really bad on him, but I think it does tell a bad lesson to people of every single place when things get rough, you gotta find your way out. Not only do you have to find your way out, you have to do it in the most unprofessional manner, in a way to do your exit. You don't care about your body when you're coming in, which is ridiculous. Then you get to Brooklyn, and let's be honest, you were Kevin Durant's foot away from the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's correct.
You know, you would have been potentially playing for a chance to play in the finals. I think his ego and the clash between personalities with him and Kyrie, and obviously this is also during the time of COVID, that a bit of misfortune a bit in Brooklyn, but you could have still stuck it out, and that core of those three could have still potentially contended for a championship. But you wanted to ultimately go to Philly. I'm gonna be honest. This is my thing here. Let's say I work at, you got a big company. I'm one of your CEOs. Chill. You have more than been good to me. You believed in me when I was a young intern. You see my growth and development. You've promoted me. I have scratched your back and shown this progress. You've more than paid me, more than put in the financial investment into me as a person, or in James Harden as a player. Daryl Morey has given him more than enough money as a player. Completely changed the landscape of his life. Saw the star that he could be in Houston. And James Harden is 100% one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game. Him at his peak, it was an absolute spectacle. There was a legitimate reason why he was an MVP of this league. However, the meltdowns in the playoffs are still a part of your legacy. And at some point, averaging 30 points a season doesn't matter, because what you do, when you do what you do in May and June, it just doesn't move the needle anymore. Right. The 30 points a game will be great. You'll go down as one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game. But in terms of your greatness, it'll always be a bit flawed, because you don't play well in the biggest moments of basketball when it matters the absolute most. And 100%, Daryl Morey probably had a handshake deal that after the season ended, I would re-up you, which is cool. But let's just say, chill. We had a deal that I would make sure I get us this big top end client for our firm or whatever we work in, and I fall through massively. Mm-hmm. I embarrass you. I embarrass the company who's put all of this faith into me, and then the year after, I'm asking for a raise.
A huge raise, by the way.
A huge raise, by the way. I want you to invest with me for another 4 years. Re-up the whole thing. I want to get a new crib out in Brentwood. I want the full scale. But I'm not producing the results to get that done. And I don't blame Daryl Morey for not wanting to re-up James Harden, because at the end of the day, he still has a job to do outside of his relationship with you. Mm-hmm. I still have to figure out the best way to put the Philadelphia 76ers in an opportunity to go out there and win a championship.
Right.
I don't believe that there is a situation where James Harden is able to do that, because you know what the biggest issue is for me when it comes to James Harden, chill? Mm-hmm. He still sees himself as a 35-point-a-night scorer in this league. He still sees Houston James Harden. And that is when you're not actually looking in the mirror. You have Joel Embiid, who was an MVP of this league. You have Tyrese Maxey, who was a budding young star in this league. And through all of the different phases of the 76ers, from the Ben Simmons era to the James Harden era, he has stayed even keeled through all the ups and downs, and has quietly progressed into one of the at least top 50 players, top 60 players in the league.
Right.
I think there's another level that he can tap into, and it's up to James Harden to be able to draw the best out of not only Joel, but a player like Tyrese Maxey. And if you're not in the business of winning, if you're in the business of being the top player or being a top scorer, right, then how do you help me win championships? You know, I think there's some truth to what Stephen A. Smith said about the Houston Rockets.
I think it is too. I do.
I don't think Stephen A. Smith just pulls stories out of his behind. This man has more than enough intel for probably every single NBA team, right, every single NFL team. If he goes in and looks for a source, he can probably find a source within the building. Mm-hmm. I do 100% believe James Harden went to Houston and spoke to the Rockets and thought that he was going to go there and get back to being the old James Harden. That probably completely turned them off, because why? The Houston Rockets have Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green. You have a plethora of young talent that, right, with a great young point guard James Harden, who could be a leader, maybe it works out in their best interest. But you want to be the focal point of this team, and that can't be the case when it comes to you. You'll ruin our development. Right. So James Harden really at some point needs to not only look at himself and who he wants to be, but he needs to think about whether or not he really is a winning basketball player. Right. Because you have not shown the capabilities to be a winning basketball player in your time in the postseason. Like I still to this day, I know people say Chris Paul got hurt. He just needed one game. And I just still think some of the great ones, Kobe, Bron, Michael Jordan, Kareem, some of the greats, even Stephen Curry, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. I think if they just needed to play one absolute game of your life and figure it out when we get to the finals of how we're going to make this thing shake, I think any one of those guys can give you that type of game if it mattered most for the fans. And
a prime example would be in 2019 in the Western Conference semifinals in Game 6. No KD. Steph Curry has these many points a half.
Right.
Zero. Scores 33 in the second half.
Put him on their back.
And he put him on their back to win. Now, when you're talking about being an all-time great, I was around when I'm hearing people tell me that James Harden offensively might be better than Michael Jordan. James Harden is having a historical season. So when we're talking about you like this, When we're talking about you like this, now the expectation is for you to produce that way. That's the difference. And when you don't produce that way, the criticism is going to come. What I think has happened here, J-Rob, I think that we're now looking at James Harden as more of a mercenary. Well, damn, OG, what do you mean as a mercenary? James Harden care about his money. James Harden care about getting paid. That's what James Harden care about. He cares about getting his money.
But you got to be a mercenary and do your job. Mercenaries get the job done.
And with that being said, him caring about getting paid is getting overshadowed by him not producing. That's the problem, because actually it's not being overshadowed. It's actually compounded him not producing. And because that's happening, it's just making him look worse than what it already is. Now, don't get me wrong. You got a short shelf life in the NBA. The shelf life for an NBA player is, I believe, 4 years. Right. I think the average pro career is 4 or 5 years. One of those two. James Harden has exceeded that. But in year 14, there's no way that he's selling me the idea that I'm still the James Harden who is 30 a game, who, like you just said about what Stephen A. Smith said, I'm having a difficult time believing that Stephen A. Smith would actually get on national television and say that without a credible source.
Right. Me neither.
I don't think that he would get on national television and say that if it wasn't legit and it wasn't credible, because I know that even though we are in the business of entertainment, I have whatever I say, it's heard through a lot of different people. So what I'm talking about, it has to be legit. So when Stephen A. gets on television and says, from my sources, this is what happened with James Harden. Well, damn, I can't just go, I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I mean, Stephen A. has got over 25 years in the business. Over 25 years in the business. So a guy like James Harden, who at this point in his career has shown to, number one, fold in the playoffs, two, bail on his crew when it gets rough, and three, which is the most important part, show up to camp out of shape and be disgruntled. That's a recipe for disaster when you're getting older.
Right.
When you are getting older and you are at a point in your career where you don't have that many more years in terms of prime years. You don't have that many more years left. I mean, J-Rob, we talking about a 34-year-old James Harden. How many more years do you think he got at the level that he's already regressing? How many more years?
I mean, to be honest, I gotta say maybe 2 max. 2 max. I mean, listen, maybe 3.
I'm going to.
But what if he gets hurt again? And chill, I think you hit it. I mean, most of the points you said already hitting it directly on the nose, but ain't it even crazier that he wants to just go out his way and then bail and go to, of all places, the Clippers? You know, like it just seems like you can still see he obviously still was chasing a ring as well.
Right.
But it's like you want to form another super team to try to not get it done. And if y'all don't get it done, the only common denominator I'll have seen in multiple iterations of your career where you haven't got it done will be you. You have been a part of most of these teams' meltdowns and their inability to get over the hump to win a championship. And if I'm his agent, and this is why I really think in life it matters to have people around you in your circle who will really be willing to call you out when they think you are wrong. Because I don't know James Harden personally, so I'm not going to say take any personal shots at him. I'm speaking only of the basketball player and the actions that we've seen take place that have been reported. If I am his agent, and you've seen the pictures, it's been reported he comes out of shape, he shows his disgruntledness, he'll miss a practice, he will force his way out.
Which is totally unacceptable, by the way. To just not show up to work. That is totally unacceptable. But keep going.
100% unacceptable. When is the agent going to say, you might get blackballed in this league for the way you're acting? I understand you probably think you got 3 more years left of playing at the level you're able to play at, but you're going to become a player who's more trouble than they're worth because of the way you act. And at the end of the day, as a 34-year-old player, there's only a few 34-year-old players above who could probably act that way and get away with it. LeBron, Stephen Curry, Giannis when he gets up there, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard when he gets up there in age. So the older players for sure, but Kevin Durant, but you're not that type of player where you can act that way. So
You just said it. You just said
blackball yourself.
You just said the magic thing, J-Rob. You're going to be more trouble than you're worth.
Yeah, you are.
You do not want those. You do not want your name in that sentence. Such and such is more trouble than what he's worth. At some point, you have to humble yourself. Now, again, I understand that this is business, but what I always go back to, I go back to 2014. The reason why I go back to 2014 is because LeBron James, word on the street is that he wants to come home. If you rewind the clock, 4 years before that, Dan Gilbert put out a letter completely blasting James.
Right, I remember that.
I am a firm believer, J-Rob. I don't care if it's the president of the United States or the chief custodian in the building. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got one person that when that person talk, they listen. They might not do anything that person says, but when that person talk, they listen. And that person that's talking is at minimum able to humble them. So what I mean when I say that is, I'm thinking to myself, how did this whole thing transpire? I'm thinking of Dan Gilbert got that one guy goes into that room with Dan Gilbert with all of those people, and he goes, "Yo, I want to talk to you, and I need to talk to you right now."
Right.
Everybody out, and everybody gets out, and this is what I'm envisioning this conversation looking like, and him looking at Dan and going, "He wants to come home." You get on that plane, you go down there, and the first thing you say is, "I'm sorry."
Right.
Don't come back here without him, because we're gonna be Sacramento for the next 15 years if you do that.
Right.
Get your ass on a plane, go down there, and you bring him back home.
Bring him back home.
That's that one person can humble you, even though as high and mighty as you are, you see that, damn, maybe I need to get it together. So let me go down here. Let me go down here. Let me talk to this dude and let's get to the bottom of this. That agent that you talked about, you're going to be more trouble than you're worth.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that.
You don't want to hear that.
I don't want to hear that I'm becoming more trouble than I'm worth. Because my next question to you, J-Rob, is what do I need to do to dispel that? Because what's next is I'm out the league. That's what's next.
Well, the way to dispel that is being a team player. You got to buy in. You can't buy into your own ego. I mean, and the thing is, you and I both played at the Division I level, so we understand the competitiveness and the type of ego you need to have in order to be able to play even at that level. Right. You have to have some level of selfishness, but it's so real. That selfishness is because you desire to actually play in the games. You want to show that you're valuable enough to play. But if your value doesn't lead to success, then ultimately you're not worth anything. You know, in the grand scheme of things, because
or at least what you think you are. At least what you think you were.
Or at least what you think you are or were. So if you've already shown in multiple iterations that either you can't be healthy for the playoffs, or when you are healthy, you will have an absolute collapse. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying this, Chill, because obviously we are talking a lot about James Harden, but I will say too, the 7'2" MVP that they have, he needs to step it up too. I'm gonna just flat out.
He's not off the hook. He's not off the hook.
He's not off the hook.
No,
he's not off the hook. I want to make sure the chat knows that the conversation that we're having is about James Harden. Joel Embiid has very much some stake in this game as well for the way they looked in that collapse. But James Harden is the pop in circumstance of everything that's going on. He is kind of not only overshadowed the spotlight of Joel Embiid not playing well, but completely taking it over.
And with that being said, Joel Embiid has had some unfortunate injuries. He got his face broke against Toronto. They were up in the series. They were up in the game, and that's unfortunate. I'm not going to fight that. He had a meniscus tear last season in the playoffs. But with that being said, there are things that are controllable, such as you taking better care of your body. You taking better care of your body. Not only taking better care of your body, playing a different style of play. I'm not asking you to be Hakeem Olajuwon because I know you don't want to play on the box primarily. All right, I understand that. As much as I want Shaq, Olajuwon, David Robinson, Ewing, Jabbar, as much as I want those dudes to come back, they're gone. And I accept that. The big man has just been updated. He's still here. He's just been updated. And I understand that you, being a big, you play like the modern day big. But where you are the most effective, you are the most effective in the post and in the mid post. Yeah. I'm not saying that you can't play at the long ball line. I'm not saying that you can't play in the mid range. In fact, I'm actually encouraging you to do that. But what I'm saying is when it's time to actually get it done, these are the places where you should be the most. I'm trying to imagine Marcus Smart covering Hakeem Olajuwon. You ever watch the Animal Planet when the lions pick their cubs up by that little fur on the back of their neck and they snap? That's what Olajuwon would have done to Marcus Smart. Right. He would have picked him up by the back of that fur and dragged him right underneath the basket. And if they don't give him the basketball, Kenny Smith sitting on the bench. If Dennis Scott don't get the basketball to Shaq, he's sitting on the bench. And these are the things that you have to. I'm not saying that you should. These are the things that has to be done. Because you being a legit big, being one of the best players in the game, not just the best big, one of the best players in the game, right? You have the ability to take over a series. And when a small man like Marcus Smart or Grant Williams is covering you, you have to exploit that. That might have something to do. Don't get me wrong. That might have something to do with coaching. But J-Rob, at some point, just give me the ball, yo.
Yeah, he got to dominate the game more, in my opinion. I just don't think he dominates the game enough. Like, I don't. Not that he disappears, but it just like, does it ever bug you when he settles for a jump shot or when he settles for a three? Like sometimes it absolutely irks me because it's like, there's no way that was the best possible shot you could have got in that position. There's just no way. And maybe you could say you've never been in those situations, so how can you tell him it's the best possible shot? But look, I played basketball growing up. I've seen enough. I understand concepts in basketball. He's on a low block, and I know 7'2" is bigger than 6'4". He should not have to settle for a jump shot. Like I don't believe that. And I just feel like he needs to dominate the game more.
I think some of his best work, which is where he falls short, should be in transition, where when he's running the floor, where he ends up stopping at the long ball line, when running right to the rim, or running right to the rim, or you got a big man on you, or you got a small forward on you, burying him underneath the basket. They will get you the basketball. They will not look you off. They will get you the basketball. I watched Joker do that. I watched Joker do that with KD. I watched Joker run from rim. He sees KD at the free throw line, slowing him down. Joker's running right to the rim. Give me the ball. He can't cover me. He cannot cover me. He cannot cover me. So with that being said, Joel Embiid has to play better. He's had some unfortunate injuries. I can get with that. He's got to take better care of his body, and he's got to dominate the game more. The way his skill set would allow him to.
I agree. So we got a few super chats. So, before we get into our next topic, I do want to make sure we get to these so nobody feels left out.
Absolutely.
Angie Carr, sup fam, thoughts on the Mikey Williams situation? Are you aware of?
I do. I think he's in a lot of trouble, man. He had an event at his house. These people showed up. One thing led to another. Some guns were pulled out. Some people got shot, and it's just a fiasco. Now, there's a way of handling there's a way of handling things, when you're at your house, when you got people over. If I got some people over my house that ain't here to rob me, we can figure this out without the burners getting pulled out.
Well, I think that's the thing, though, Chill. So I just want you to know I've read some of the transcripts from the case. So just for some clarity, because I think the problem is there was a lot of initial misinformation from the first reports of the story. So eyewitnesses actually said they actually did not see Mikey Williams fire a shot at the vehicle that was said to be stepped away. However, there was witness account that I guess this group of guys that came to his door, I think they were trying to attack Mikey. Some people are. I think his
guess. Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think the lawyers want to fight for self-defense in this situation. I don't really know the gun laws in California, so I can't really say what it is. I think the problem is they led the story with the fact that he may face 27 years in prison,
right?
Where he may not face anything at all. But it is a terrible situation as a whole. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to be able to give you some more information.
Absolutely. And when you're home, when you're home, I mean, my home is my castle, you know, and it's my job to protect my home. No question about that. And if it comes to that, then it comes to that. But what can we do to avoid this? Who are these people in my house? Right? Who are these people in my house? What are you guys doing here? You got to go. Now, if you choose not to leave, and now I got to defend myself, and that's something completely different, J-Rob. Something completely different. Now, if you run out and you drive off and I'm shooting at the car, well, if am I shooting at the car? Are the people that's in my house shooting at the car? What's going on there? Right. That part we don't know about. It's the gun laws in California are very similar to what's going on in New York. If you got an unregistered, if you got an unregistered burner on you, you're looking at minimum. It's a minimum 3 years mandatory minimum. If you got an unregistered burner on you, now in your house it doesn't matter because in your house you are allowed to just like in the state of Florida. I'm a registered gun owner, but if if the cops showed up to my house and they had a search warrant and they found my gun in here, and I didn't, and I wasn't a registered gun owner, I could still have the gun in here because it's in my house. Right. Now, if he's got guns in his house, and
I think that was his property,
right? If he's got guns in his house, that's something completely different. But it looks bad right now. It does.
Yeah. I hope. Well, honestly, I got to be honest, and I think you would agree to this. I really hope it doesn't go. I hope he doesn't see any jail time. I really do, because I mean, this kid got his whole life ahead of him. You know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, one of the prices of fame is situations that he was in. I mean, this kid's been famous since he was 14 years old. Yeah, he's only 18
for a long time,
for a few years now. Yeah, like some of these kids is growing up with Mikey Williams. So I'm hoping for the best for him in this situation. You know, we'll obviously monitor it closely. See what happens. Another super chat by Angie Carr. Is it possible for a player to get a max contract and contend for a chip? Because this generation's idea is get the bag, then force a trade.
A max contract and contend for a chip. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers had the 3rd seed last year. Yeah. It wasn't like, you know, they was 7 or 8. They had the 3rd seed in Milwaukee. Joel Embiid just extended his contract. I mean, you're looking at the Milwaukee Bucks. They had the best record in the NBA last year.
Come on. I mean, it's everybody in the league.
And Giannis just signed a supermax deal.
Yeah.
Giannis just signed a supermax deal. So, I mean, I think you can. Absolutely. Yeah. And not only that, Steph Curry, I think he's on his second supermax. I think he's on his second supermax deal. The first one he signed back in 17? I
want to say 17 or 16.
Yeah, 16 or 17. This is his second supermax deal. So, I mean, you can absolutely get a supermax or a max contract and still contend for an NBA championship. Sure.
Isn't Damian Lillard in Milwaukee's on his? This is his second one, and this one goes up every year. He makes he makes a lot more on the back end every year. Ridiculous amounts, actually.
Yes, he does.
It's like $1 million a week. Jaleel West. If it was only about the money, why didn't he just stay in Brooklyn, who offered him a contract extension, and that would have made him the highest paid? Can I actually start before you? I just want to say, because he's also wants comfort. Daryl Morey gave him comfort. It was about the money 100%, but Daryl Morey also was his yes man in Houston for a long time. Let me not even say yes man, was a big believer in James Harden and obviously build a team around him, but Daryl Morey makes him comfortable. I think that's really what it is, comfort as well.
Jaleel, this chick that he's hanging with, as great as she is, this ain't even the chick that I want to be with. Even though she's going to give me everything I want. This is the chick I really want to be with, who is Daryl Morey. That's where he really wanted to be right from the beginning. So the fact that Brooklyn offered him more money, or not more money, a contract extension, the fact that they offered him that, it still doesn't negate the fact that him leaving Houston, he wanted to be with Daryl Morey from the beginning. He got talked into going to Brooklyn. I don't think he ever wanted to be in Brooklyn, to be quite honest with you, J-Rob.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he ever wanted to be in Brooklyn. I think he ended up in Brooklyn because he got talked into it. It sounded like a good idea. It sounded like something that, all right, let's do it. But ultimately, I think that he always wanted to be in Philadelphia from the beginning.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree. I think that was always a destination. I think his relationship with Kevin Durant played a part why it was cool to go to Brooklyn. I mean, obviously they went to a finals together. They grew up together in OKC. So, but moving on. So the Ringer put out the top 25 players in the NBA. All I gotta say is, one of the ESPN, the Ringer, one of y'all need to come holler at me for because these lists.
Is it not correct?
Lists,
you don't like what you're saying, J-Rob?
I just feel like some of these lists are more projections than what it really is. Because one, a lot of these lists, like, you know what, we're gonna talk about this 25. Maybe I'll come on the panel one of these days this week and talk about some of these other lists. Yeah. So let me throw up the list for the chat to see. So this is the top 25 list. I'll read off from 25 up. At 25, Pascal Siakam, Domantas Sabonis, Tyrese Halliburton, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, Paul George, John Morant, Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Damian Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and your previous Finals MVP, Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
OG, what are your thoughts on this list?
Well, the first thing, if you could put that list back up, that'd be great.
I got you.
If you could put that list back up, that'd be great. So, if I'm looking at this list, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 10, I got a problem with that. I don't think he's a top 10 player. Let's see here. I'm cool with the one that I'm the coolest with is Joker and Embiid at the top. I'm and the reason why I'm good with that is
Giannis?
I'm sorry, yeah, Giannis. I'm sorry. Did I say Embiid? I apologize.
Yeah,
so if you're saying Joker, if Joker and Giannis are at the top, I'm good with that. And the reason why I'm good with Joker being at the top is because if I'm sticking with the same logic that I have had for years, the same thing that made Giannis the best player on the planet is the exact same thing that made Joker the best player on the planet. So in 18-19, Giannis wins the league MVP. I believe Milwaukee had the best record in the league. He was the defensive player of the year that year. They end up losing in the Eastern Conference Finals, go deep into the playoffs. The next year, he wins the league MVP again. Mm-hmm. They got the best record in the Eastern Conference. He ends up getting hurt in the semifinals against Miami. He ends up getting hurt in the semifinals against Miami. The next year after that, in 21, they win the NBA championship. And he wins the finals MVP in dramatic fashion.
Right.
That's the best player on the planet. If I'm sticking with my logic, because I felt the same way about Moses when he did it in 82 and in 83, when Tim Duncan was the league MVP in 02 and then dropped the three-time defending NBA champion Lakers in 03, went on to win the NBA championship, win the finals MVP, become the defensive player that he was. I thought he was the best player on the planet. Kobe Bryant in 2008, when he won the league MVP, they were in the NBA finals. And then in 09, and then in 10, when they win the NBA championship, and he's the finals MVP in back-to-back seasons. Regardless of how I feel about if I think James is better, if I'm sticking with my logic, Bryant's the best player on the planet. I can't argue. I have to be honest with myself. He's the best player on the planet. And you fast forward, I won't talk about James in 12 and 13, 14. We're talking about Giannis. If Giannis is the best player on the planet in those 3 years, Joker did the same thing where he's the back-to-back league MVP, which he loses Jamal Murray in the middle of the season, still gets that team to a 3 seed. They end up losing to Phoenix. The next year, he loses Jamal Murray and he loses MPJ in the beginning of the season, gets that team to a 6 seed. I don't think he should have won the league MVP, but he won it anyway, considering everything that he did. He basically had the same season that Jabbar had at 75-76, where he led the league.
He snapped.
Yeah, where he led the league in everything. Then the next year after that, they win the NBA championship, and he wins the finals MVP in dramatic fashion, and he has a postseason that rivals Shaq in 2000. That's the best player on the planet. I can't argue that. And I will not argue that. Now, I will tell you this, J-Rob, and this is going to get some controversy. This dude at number 4 and the dude at number 5, I think they need to flip that.
Oh, see, this is my thing. I actually don't like this list for a lot of reasons. Matter of fact, for one, for first things first, there's no way you can convince me there are 25 basketball players on this planet better than Kyrie Irving. Pascal Siakam is not better than Kyrie Irving. Domantas Sabonis is not better than Kyrie Irving. Right now, as it stands, I don't care what you say. Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo and Tyrese Halliburton are not better basketball players than Kyrie Irving at this juncture. I don't care what anybody says. You could disagree with me or not. Right now, Kyrie Irving is still a top 25 basketball player in this world as it stands. 2, also, I also look at how people impact winning. That matters when I look at players and when I project. I also got to say this. Pascal Siakam ain't impact winning for the Toronto Raptors since Kawhi Leonard was there. How is he a top 25 player in the NBA? But Julius Randle, who the Knicks were an afterthought, and before y'all say he's a Knicks fan, he's being biased. Julius Randle was an afterthought going to a team that was an afterthought, and I'm glad Ticket TV said it on the panel today.
They got roasted. The Knicks got roasted.
The Knicks got roasted. We were roasted. Yeah, we went to 2 playoffs with Julius Randle. Julius Randle's been on an all-NBA team, 2-time All-Star. He's made, regardless of what you want to say, the Knicks did not get any type of relevance of late until Julius Randle got there and the impact he had on the team. He is definitely better than Pascal Siakam, so I don't understand how he is at 25. Another thing, I think Ja Morant is low at 19, personally. I love Jamal Murray and everything he did. He should be a top 25 player. I think Ja Morant should be ahead of him, though, in my opinion. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA is a top 10 player, chill. I know you don't want to hear that yet, but this kid is everything in a bag of chips. The way he has made Oklahoma City relevant, the way that he has been able to take a young core and be the focal point of that team where they were actually spooky going into the play-in because nobody really knew what this young team and, young and full of vigor, as my guy Big Ox says, was going out there and do. And they're going to be a legitimate threat, and they're going to win a playoff spot. Not a play-in spot. They will have a playoff spot going in.
With that being said, J-Rob, with that being said, I want you to finish your point, though.
No, go ahead.
Finish your point.
And this is the last one, and y'all can say, of course, J-Rob feels this way. LeBron James is not the 12th best player in the world at this point, as it still remains. He is at least a top 10 player at the most. I would still take him at this point where LeBron James is at his career. He is a better player than SGA. He is a better player than Devin Booker. He's a better player than Jimmy Butler. He's a better player than Kevin Durant. He is a better player than Joel Embiid. He's a better player right now than Luka Doncic. Because not only in his old age, he is still a better player. Luka Doncic is a top-tier scorer, but he gives you nothing defensively. And at the end of the day, if you don't make sure the right situations are around Luka Doncic, I don't think he can thrive either because he cannot give you anything on the defensive end. That's why I love the pairing of Kyrie Irving with him in that backcourt. As long as they have the wings, I'm excited to see what they see. But at this point, as it remains, LeBron James still out here impacting basketball. He still impacts winning. If y'all watch his performances in the playoffs, he has many points, is still the best player, can still at points be the best player on the team. And I understand right now Joel Embiid won the MVP and has been dominated during the regular season. But in the playoffs, he falls off the face of the planet as much as anybody. So with that being said, I'd still – at my eyes, still LeBron James at minimum being a top 7 player. Obviously, I'm not going to go off the wagon and say top 5 or top 3 because then people will be like, oh, he's fanboying out. But he's definitely not the 12th best player in the world, in my opinion.
If you got James anywhere between 8 and 11, I'm cool with that. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I don't think he's ahead of Devin Booker, which he's not here. He's not ahead of Jimmy Butler. And the other guy that I don't think he's ahead of Donovan Mitchell. I got a problem with I don't think Shai is ahead of Donovan Mitchell. That first team All NBA spot that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had, that's Donovan Mitchell's spot.
No, it's not.
Absolutely, that's Donovan Mitchell's spot. And here's why that's Donovan Mitchell's spot. So here we got a guy in Donovan Mitchell, like you just said, J-Rob. We're talking about projecting. So if we project him, we also going off of what these guys did. So let's discuss what Donovan Mitchell did. So Donovan Mitchell is on a Utah Jazz team that was the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. He led the team in scoring in the 2021 season. He led the team in scoring. He was second on the team in assists, third in rebounding. That has never happened in my lifetime. That has never happened where a guy did that much on a number 1 seed in the Western Conference Championship, on a Western Conference Championship team. I'm sorry, on a team that was the number 1 seed in the Western Conference and did not make any of the All NBA teams. That's number 1. That's number
Spider.
one.
I like
With
Spider.
that being said, we go from him playing in Utah to a Cleveland team who, not this season that just passed, the year before he gets on the crew, they're a play-in team. And they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot the next year. Add Donovan Mitchell to that crew, who now adds 28 a game, which, by the way, he never averaged that many points 1 year in Utah. He shot 87% from the stripe. I think that's tied for the most he ever shot in Utah. He shot 38, almost 39% on the long ball. He never shot that ever in Utah. Right. And he shot almost 50% from the floor. He went 48 from the floor. Never shot that. So we're talking about a dude with 48, 39, 87 splits. On a Cleveland team that was a play-in team the year before. He makes them a top 5 seed. That's if you have a guy that's a guard. I'm thinking about a guard in the NBA over the last 15 years. If you got a guard that's a top 5 seed, that's a top 5 seed that's averaging 28 a game. I'm trying to remember the last time that guy did not make first team All NBA. That's Donovan Mitchell's spot. Don't get me wrong. I feel like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on his way to becoming a top 10 player, but I don't think he's there yet. Kawhi Leonard has to play more. From a basketball standpoint, let me tell you something, J-Rob. When he is healthy, I think he's a top 5 player when he's healthy. But how long am I going to keep saying that to you, J-Rob? It's like me saying to you, J-Rob, tomorrow. Hey, J-Rob, how many more times you going to hit tomorrow from me? Until you're like, all right, enough, OG. I done heard it enough now. Enough with the tomorrows. Right. I'm tired of saying when he's healthy. I'm tired of saying that. Just like I'm tired of saying that with Kevin Durant when he's healthy. We're talking about these dudes who are breaking down. Why are we holding back these younger guys when these guys that have been playing are breaking down and haven't been producing at the level? Meanwhile, these younger guys are close, but they're more available. I shouldn't be holding these guys back, and I'm not going to hold these guys back. Absolutely not.
I like that point.
I'm not going to do that. I will not do that. I think that Donovan Mitchell is a top 10 player in the game today. I do.
So I think SGA is a better player than Donovan Mitchell, and I love everything you said, Unc. And I think you gave a compelling argument for Donovan Mitchell. But SGA to me deserved that 1 seed spot. I watched a lot of Oklahoma City. I got NBA League Pass last year, so I watched a lot of Oklahoma City at like 11 p.m. on the East Coast. SGA, that 31, 32 points he averaged the game. That 30 points he averaged the game last year.
It was 31 last year.
31. That Oklahoma City Thunder team needed every bit of it on a nightly basis. He was more than the engine carrying a young group. Now, they got a lot of young rising talent. Jalen Williams is going to be good. Giddey's going to be good. Chet Holmgren is going to be good. But I still look at SGA's talent. I mean, there's a reason why this kid got to the free throw line as much as anybody. He attacks the rim on a damn near the same level as if you look at him in terms of a guy like Giannis. What I mean by that is he is always getting to the rim with his ability to attack the rim, and his shot making ability got so much better this year. You can clearly see the progress this kid has made, and obviously maybe right now you can give Donovan Mitchell the nod, but I think SGA is well on his way. And I think this year, this is going into this NBA season, I think people are 100% going to see that. But can I ask you about one more super chat, and then we have one more topic you wanted to talk about, right? So let me get through these real quick. Does this mess up CBA negotiations moving forward? I guess this has to do with the max contracts to win a chip.
No, I don't think it messes up CBA negotiations because they already signed the deal. There's no work stopping. So I don't think moving forward. This is what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to say signed it. No. Grant, we got to get chill on open field. You definitely should come pull up on open field. I don't know if you know anything about soccer though.
I don't. Unfortunately, my daughter doesn't play anymore. She's older now, so I was heavy into it when she was in grammar school and in high school. Because I mean, like I said, I didn't know much about soccer, so I was watching it a lot, so I could understand. I understand what was going on when she was playing. So, yeah, I'm not into it as much as I used to be.
I just want to say one more thing. The Magic numbers are 28, 8, and 6. That's what LeBron James did. For those who say he's not better than players. Anyway, my bad. My bad.
Here's the difference with that though, J. Rob, and I love those numbers. I want to make sure that we clear. I love those numbers. The problem is
29.
Yeah, the problem that we having with James is he'll do that, and then we'll have 3 weeks where he's out of the lineup. Why? Because he's old, and then he'll come back and he'll give you another 2 more weeks where he's fantastic again. But then he'll break down. So that's why I feel like with this Laker team, for this Laker team in particular, they're going to go as far as Anthony Davis can take them. Because the days of James throwing units on his back and taking them to the NBA championship and winning.
That's over.
Those days are over. We have to do it off the strength of Anthony Davis.
I agree.
And he's proven, Anthony Davis has proven defensively, I can anchor a unit to get us deep into the playoffs. The question is do I have enough where we're looking at game 4 or not even game 4. Let's not even go into the playoffs, J-Rob. We're in December and we're in a dogfight with the Toronto Raptors, or we're in a dogfight with the Knicks, and we're in the middle of the fourth quarter. Big fella, end it. Right. Can I get that from him? Where the last 4 minutes of this game, can I get three straight buckets from you? You end it. Can I get that? Because if I can get that from him, then we're talking about something completely different.
I think Anthony Davis needs to go home, draw a picture of the MVP trophy, and stick it in his locker and look at it every single day. Because if he goes out there with the intention to be a MVP candidate, not only will he have the potential to do it, but I think you'll get that player that everybody's looking for from him this year that can carry that team.
I think James wants to see that.
Oh, without question.
I think James wants him going to James in the huddle when Darvingham is drawing something up and him going, no, we ain't running that. Give me the ball right here. Game over. I think James wants that
easily.
I think he will welcome that.
Easily.
I think he absolutely. I believe that he wants that. But to the point, I just feel like as good as James is, he still can do it. He just can't do it with the frequency that he used to be able to do it. And these young guys aren't far off. And because they're not far off, I can't keep looking at James like he was 5 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong, J-Rob. I'm becoming more like I was in 2003 when I really wasn't ready to see Jay go. I was not. Even though he was over,
but Jay wasn't doing 29.
No, he wasn't,
bro. He was not.
And I still wasn't ready to let him go.
Neither was Jabbar at that point in their career. They wasn't doing what LeBron.
Jabbar was good with because Jabbar was over, but Jay, I just wasn't ready to let him go. I wasn't at that point. I wasn't ready, and I feel like I'm getting to that point with James where like it's coming up on that time where I got to start. These young kids, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Donovan Mitchell, these guys are fantastic, and I got to let them go. I have to.
I agree. I just still think right now, as of 2023, he's still at least a top 7 player, top 10 player. Now, as of 2025, though, it might not be the case. In 2025, he'll probably still be a top 20 player, but he'll still be a dominant. Is that crazy to say? Is that crazy to say?
The reason, it's not that it's crazy, J-Rob, more than it's just like we're talking about a dude in year 23, still a top 20 player. Like Jabbar was not a top 20 player in 1989. He was not. No, he wasn't.
He wasn't. So let me ask you this final question before we wrap up your show. Victor Wembanyama. I've watched a lot of preseason. He's looked more than advertised in these preseason games. Do you think it is too much pressure on this kid with the amount of expectations that he has, and do you at least think he'll live up to them in his career? And obviously, it hasn't even begun yet.
I mean, to hear a guy like Chris Broussard say if he had an Olajuwon career, he's a bust. I'm thinking that is ridiculous. I mean, when Olajuwon retired, he retired in the top 10 in scoring. I think he finished right outside the top 10 in rebounding, like 11. Mm-hmm. He finished in the top 10 in blocks and steals.
Right.
No other NBA player in NBA history did that. Nobody. So for Wemby to have a career like that and for you to go, yeah, that wasn't good enough. That's nuts to me, J-Rob. That is absolutely nuts. I think that this guy, Wemby, the pressure that's on him to be, because he's considered the greatest prospect, they expect him to be Chamberlain-like good. I personally think he's the future of basketball. That's what I think when I watch him. I think that in the next 10 to 15 years, this is what the NBA is going to look like. It's going to be a bunch of 6'10" to 7'3" super freak athletes with ridiculous handles that can shoot the basketball. Now, immediately, J-Rob, you're going to say, well, OG, we're not just going to have an influx of 7-footers. No, you know what's going to happen? The 7-footers that we already have, they're going to see the game going that way, just like James saw the game going that way with the long ball, and he figured, well, I got to put the long ball in my game. Otherwise, I'm not going to stick around. So these 6'10" to 7'3" guys, they're going to see guys like Wemby and Chet and go, yo, that's how I have to play in order for me to stick around. I can't just be a big guy. I got to be something like that.
You can't be post up big anymore.
No, otherwise I'm not going to last. That's why I think guys like Chet, I feel like guys like Chet, Wemby in particular, I feel like he's the future of basketball. When I first saw him, he's Ralph Sampson with a better jump shot and a better handle. That's what I see that's what I'm seeing when I watch him. He's fantastic. The pressure that's on him, it's going to be pretty hard for him to live up to that, considering, you're a better prospect than Michael Jordan. You're a better prospect than LeBron James. That means that the next GOAT, this is him. We've met him.
I mean, yeah, that's what it got to be. But I'm going to tell you right now, this kid is different. I understand. Like when I say different, I've never seen anything like Victor Wembanyama from not only just the size, but the fluidity in which this man's body moving at the height that he is. Like, I don't know if you watch this show called The Boys, but most people in the chat would know what I'm talking about. They got this thing called Compound V, which turned kids into pretty much superheroes. It looked like as a baby he was given Compound V, because when I watched, there was one play. They were in the preseason. I want to say they were playing the war. They were playing Oklahoma City.
Yes.
I think it was. I don't remember the play. He drives in the middle of the lane. Wemby's more towards the top of the key. He is past the foul line, so he's inside the key. Wembanyama takes all 9 foot whatever of his wingspan and strips the ball, goes on the other end. They get a dunk. To me, that was the most impressive thing to see, because you can't teach it. He was God gifted this body, and from the 3-point line, swipes away, takes it, and gets a bucket. They got a 7'3", 7'2" kid getting the DHO one dribble pull up threes like he's routinely doing it in practice. I have not seen anything like this kid, and honestly, the expectations he has, as long as he don't have any catastrophic injuries, and the God willing he has as much health as he has, I'm going to go out on the women say it. By the end of this NBA season, he will easily be a top 25, top 20 player in this league, maybe even top 15 player in this league. I don't think he's going to come into this league and it be a hard transition, because I think the NBA is going to have to in some ways catch up to him. You remember when Larry Bird said there's this kid named LeBron James out of Akron, Oklahoma. I would trade every player in the league besides Kobe Bryant for this kid. I would trade every player in the NBA not named Nikola Jokic or Giannis Antetokounmpo or Stephen Curry for Victor Wembanyama. Because he's a freak show. The upside is incredible. He's literally a generational talent personified, and I'm really excited to see his growth, because
he looks different. He does, to be honest with you, J-Rob, you just hit it on the head. He looks. One of my buddies tells me that he's an alien. That's what he looks like. He's an alien. I'm watching him. They're playing against the Miami Heat in the preseason, and he dunks with the weak hand, and he's like 8 feet away from the basket. And he dunks, and Thomas Bryant is looking over at the sideline going, what am I supposed to do?
What am I supposed to do with that?
What am I supposed to do with that? There's nothing that you can do with that. Nothing. So for the skill set that he has, for how tall he is, and he's going to fill out. I think the thing that we're having a problem with right now is he's 18. J-Rob. He's a kid.
Wait till he get a man body.
Right. He's a kid. He might still be growing for all we know. Right. He might still be growing for all we know. He hasn't filled out yet. We don't know what his body is going to turn into. So with that being said, there's still a lot of questions about him. But in terms of his game, I think he's the future of the NBA. I do. I think this is what the NBA. I never thought that I would be alive to see the day when a 6'7" guy is small.
Right.
When a 6'7" guy is you too small, you ain't big enough. A 6'5" guy is too small.
Yeah, you 6'5", you got to play the 1 or the 2. That's it.
If you 6'5", if you can't play the 1, you can't be around here because you're too small.
You better learn how to shoot like Steph Curry.
You have to. Otherwise, because guys like this is what the NBA is going to be flooded with. Because there's already a bunch of 7-foot guys in the league now. What's going to happen is that they're going to see, like I said, like James saw with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and all these guys shooting the long ball. This is the future of the NBA. And I better put this in my game. Otherwise, I'm going to get left behind.
Ask Brook Lopez what learning how to shoot the 3 has done for his career.
I think it extended it. It definitely put some years on his NBA life.
Might have made him more valuable on the back end than he was on the front end of his career, to be honest with you.
You might have. I think you got a point there. Sure.
If he was shooting like this to start his career, we might be talking about Brook Lopez in a whole different conversation.
Right.
100%.
Right.
One thing about Wembyama that I do have to say too is, thank God he went to San Antonio. I think he's gonna keep popping around for another decade.
I definitely think he put some. Yes, he did.
He put more years on him.
Yes, he did.
Whatever you thought, I mean. He's gonna be spectacular, and I got one more bold prediction about the San Antonio Spurs. They will at least be a playing team.
I don't think they're going to be that good.
The
reason why, J-Rob, is because I don't think Wemby's going to be what you think he's going to be this early. I think he's an 18, 19 a game guy. I think he's 8 or 9 rebounds and 2.5 blocks. I got people I got Ticket telling me that this dude is 25 plus.
No, he's averaging like 22, 11, and 6 out
the last rook to average 25 plus. That was Jordan in 84. He averaged 28, 84, 85. He averaged 28 a game. If Wemby's averaging 28 a game, number one, he's starting in the All-Star game. I want to make sure we clear on that.
Oh yes, 100%.
He's starting in the All-Star game. That's number one. Number 2, if he's averaging 28 a game and he's 11 rebounds, like y'all say, if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is first team All-NBA, if Shai is 28 and 11, he's an All-NBA performer.
Bro, 100%. He's going to win He's going to be an All-NBA player in his rookie year. He's going to be an All-Star in his rookie year. He's going to average between 20 and 23 points a game as a rookie, because you saw Paolo Banchero average 21 at 6'10" in the NBA. The way the game is wide open, he's going to be a monster too. By the way, one of the faces of the league. I'm telling you right now. Make sure I stay on that Paolo Banchero train. He's that good. This kid though, listen, he is more than an alien. They built him in a test tube. Ronnie 2K made him. I'm telling you, as long as he cooked him up, as long as he stays healthy, he is going to take the league by storm. It is going to be madness. And I just hope the San Antonio Spurs do not ruin this opportunity.
I don't think they
because we live in a world where players are controlling the league. If he wants out, he can go. And seeing this Victor Wembanyama, it always makes me remember to always hate to always thank the basketball guys, because they remind me all the time that when we rigged the NBA draft to go get Patrick Ewing, it has forever haunted us to this day, and we could not get a first overall pick in the draft. And
I think that you just hit it on the head, J-Rob, that I think he's in one of the best situations that he could ever be in, getting mentored by both David Robinson and Tim Duncan. And Pop has to. I'm not saying that Pop should or it's in his best interest. He got to turn him loose, J-Rob.
Yeah.
There can't be any restrictions on him. He got to turn him loose. And when I mean he got to turn him loose, he got to let him rock, because he is going to be a showstopper. Everybody knows that when you come in to see the San Antonio Spurs, you're coming to see him. So Pop got to turn him loose. The thing that I'm worried about again is he's a kid. That's the thing that I'm worried about the most. And is he going to be able to handle at this age all that comes with being what everybody thinks he's going to be?
I mean, to be honest, he been this alien for the last 3 years, so he knows that this was coming. I really think he'll be fine. I really do. I think he's known the expectations he has. LeBron James got this level of popular circumstance in the era where social media was not even what it is now, and that was still a huge deal. They were in high schools playing highlights of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird before a high school kid went out to play basketball. So there's every generation there's another one. This generation is another one, and I cannot wait to see the turnout. But I agree, don't put no restrictions. Don't try to make him anything but let him be himself and show you what he can be. We got one more super chat before we get out of here by Teddy Hart. Has anyone ever won DPOY as a rookie? It's a long shot, but not impossible. Definitely not impossible.
Well, the Defensive Player of the Year was first implemented in the 82-83 season. And I think the closest guy to win it as a rookie was Mutombo. I think it was him, and then Tim Duncan in the 97-98 season. Those two guys, if I remember correctly, were the closest as rookies. But no, nobody has ever won it as a rook, the Defensive Player of the Year. No, that's not happening.
Well, that's our time. Chill. I appreciate you letting me come chill with Chill. And I'm excited to see what the rest of this NBA season looks like. To the chat, we salute you. Thank you for coming on. And any closing words, Chill?
Hey, man, drink water, put a suit on, don't drink and drive, call your mother. She looking for you. Call your mother. And until then, take it light, but take it.